We are members of a family here in the church, and today we have some family business to tend to. Today is the opportunity for our annual parish financial report. I'm going to begin with some homily thoughts on today's gospel, which center us on stewardship. And I'm going to look at time and talent in particular. And then Mr. Gary Como from our Parish Finance Council will follow me, and he will look at the treasure part of our family and stewardship. The complete financial report will be made available to all 1,800 households in our parish with our December newsletter. Today's parable that Jesus tells us in the gospel leaves me a little unnerved with its ending. It tells us about a master who gave all his possessions to 3 of his stewards, 3 of his servants. And to one he gave 5 talents. To another he gave 2 talents. And to the last one he gave 1 talent. And he went away. And when he came back, he really clobbered that 1 talent fellow. Why? When I look at my life, I can identify with that 1 talent guy. Because in my life, as perhaps in your lives, we may be strong in 1 talent and have some other supporting talents around that. But as for being a star in 2 talents, or even up to 5, well, that's sort of pushing the envelope. So I find my place with that 1 talent fellow. And what did he do? Well, he didn't want to lose it. So out of fear, he buried it in the ground. He did nothing with it. There's a certain logic to that. But when the master came back, he really got after that steward. When I look a little closely at today's gospel, a little more closely, I'm realizing that perhaps this parable is not telling us so much about how we are as it is telling us more about how God is. Right at the beginning of the parable, Jesus says the master gave all his possessions to his stewards. He gave them 5 talents, 2 talents, 1 talent. Well, what is a talent anyway? Because an understanding of what a talent is the key to this gospel. In Jesus' day, 1 talent was equivalent to 5 times a person's annual income. Now, right away, I know something clicked when I said that. Because we all know what our annual incomes are, don't we? Right away, you could quote it. Because how many times a week do you think about it? Well, imagine being given 1 talent, 5 times your annual income is dropped in your lap. My. And then if you're a 2-talent person or a 5-talent person, look what you have to work with. So that 1 talent fellow, he does not have chump change to deal with. And I don't feel so sorry for him now, knowing that. But the master got angry with him. But as he took that money and buried it in the ground and did absolutely nothing with it. The master's anger. The reason for it becomes a little more apparent when we see that this gospel parable takes place in Matthew chapter 25. Now, at the moment, that may not mean a great deal, but it will. Matthew chapter 26 tells us about the events of Holy Thursday. Matthew chapter 27 relates the events of Good Friday. And Matthew chapter 28 are the events of Easter Sunday. So Jesus told this parable in chapter 25 right before his passion, death, and resurrection. And he talks about a master who gives all that he has to his stewards, his servants. And then in chapter 26, 27, and 28 of Matthew's Gospel, we hear about our Master who suffered, died, and rose for us, who gave us everything as a gift and expects us to do something with that great gift. We can perhaps understand that master's anger a little better with that steward who buried the treasure and did nothing. We have been formally a stewardship parish for the last 3 years. We had our 3rd annual stewardship renewal in May of this year. And 30% of our 1,800 households here at St. Joseph's returned a commitment card. That was up from 29% last year and 25% the year before. And this year, 127 cards from our youth were returned. In terms of time and talent commitments, there were 464 new commitments this year, and there were 1,312 recommitments in time and in talent. There was an 8% increase in prayer commitments. And we had the blessing of a parish leadership retreat last April, given by Father Draga from Borromeo Seminary, and we had the blessing of a parish retreat last month, October, given by Monsignor Moss. There is a song that we will be singing at the end of Mass today. Soon and very soon we are going to see the King. There are people that were seated here with us a year ago now that are now no longer with us, that are with the Lord. We recounted their names on All Souls Day in the prayers of the faithful, and it was a long list. The question that we are all going to meet when we come before the Lord face to face at the end of our lives on earth comes from today's gospel. Jesus saying to each one of us, "What did you do with all that I gave to you?" But that's not a question simply for the end of our lives. Sooner or later, that's going to come. But it's also a question that we ask every day in the present tense. What am I doing now? What am I doing with the gifts of time, talent, and treasure that the Lord has given to me to use, to develop, to share? We hope to answer that question well, and we hope to hear that very welcome invitation from the Lord himself when he says, "Come, come to your Master's joy."